And it was then that Wanda had come along with her brother Jake. They didn't often come to school together. Jake had to get to school very early because he helped old Mr. Henny, the school janitor, with the furnace or raking up the dry leaves or other odd jobs before school opened. Today he must be late. Even Wanda looked pretty in this sunshine, and her pale blue dress looked like a piece of the sky in summer. And that old gray toboggan cap she wore must be something Jake had found. Looked almost jaunty. Mary watched them absent-mindedly as she flashed her piece of broken meter here and there, and only absent-mindedly. She noticed Wanda stop short when they reached the crowd of laughing and shouting girls. "Come on," Mary heard Jake say. "I gotta hurry. I gotta get the doors open and ring the bell." "You go the rest of the way," said Wanda. "I want to stay here." Jake shrugged and went on up Maple Street. Wanda slowly approached the group of girls. They each stepped forward before she put her foot down. She seemed to hesitate for a long, long time. She approached the group as a timid animal might, ready to run if anything alarmed it. Even so, Wanda's mouth was twisted into the vaguest suggestion of a smile. She must feel happy too, because everybody must feel happy on such a day. As Wanda joined the outside fringe of girls, Mary stood up too, and went over close to Peggy to get a good look at Cecile's new dress herself. She forgot about Wanda, and more girls kept coming up, enlarging the group, and all exclaiming about Cecile's new dress. "Isn't it lovely?" said one. "Yeah, I have a new blue dress, but it's not as pretty as that," said another. "My mother just bought me a plate, one of the Stuart plates." "I got a new dress for dancing school. I'm gonna make my mother get me one just like Cecile's." Everyone was talking to everybody else. Nobody said anything to Wanda, but there she was, a part of the crowd. The girls closed in a tighter circle around Cecile, still talking all at once and admiring her. And Wanda was somehow enveloped in the group. Nobody talked to Wanda, but nobody even thought about her being there. Maybe, thought Maddie, remembering what had happened next. Maybe she figured all she'd have to do was say something and she'd really be one of the girls. And this would be an easy thing to do because all they were doing was talking about dresses. Maddie was standing next to Peggy. Wanda was standing next to Peggy on the other side. All of a sudden, Wanda impulsively touched Peggy's arm and said something. Her light blue eyes were shining and she looked excited like the rest of the girls. "What?" asked Peggy, for Wanda had spoken very softly. Wanda hesitated a moment and then she repeated her words firmly. "I got 100 dresses home." "That's what I thought you said. 100 dresses." 100! Peggy's voice raised itself higher and higher. "Hey kids," she yelled, "this girl's got 100 dresses." Silence greeted this and the crowd which had centered around Cecile and her new finery now, centered curiously around Wanda and Peggy. The girls eyed Wanda, first incredulously, then suspiciously. 100 dresses, they said. Nobody could have 100 dresses. I have, though. Wanda has 100 dresses. Where are they, then? In my closet. Oh, you don't wear them to school? No, for parties. Oh, you mean you don't have any everyday dresses? Yes, I have all kinds of dresses. Why don't you wear them to school? For a moment, Wanda was silent to this. Her lips drew together. Then she repeated stolidly, as though it were a lesson learned in school. 100 of them, all lined up in my closet. Oh, I see, said Peggy, talking like a grown-up person. The child has 100 dresses, but she wouldn't wear them to school. Perhaps she's worried of getting ink or chalk on them. With this, everybody fell to laughing and talking at once. Wanda looked stolidly at them, pursing her lips together, wrinkling her forehead up so that the gray toboggan slipped way down on her brow. Suddenly, from down the street, the school gong rang its first warning. "Oh, come on, hurry," said Maddie. Relieved, "We'll be late." "Goodbye, Wanda," said Peggy. "Your 100 dresses sound beautiful." More shouts of laughter greeted this, and off the girls ran, laughing and talking and forgetting Wanda and her 100 dresses. Forgetting until tomorrow and the next day and the next day, when Peggy, seeing her coming to school, would remember and ask her about the 100 dresses. For now, Peggy seemed to think a day was lost if she had not had some fun with Wanda, winning the approving laughter of the girls. Yes, that was the way it had all begun, the game of the 100 dresses. It all happened so suddenly and unexpectedly, with everybody falling right in, that even if you felt uncomfortable as Maddie had, there wasn't anything you could do about it. Maddie wagged her head up and down. Yes, she repeated to herself. That was the way it began. That day, that bright blue day. And she wrapped up her shavings and went to the front of the room to empty them in the teacher's basket. The contest. Now, today, even though she and Peggy had been late to school, Maddie was glad she had not had to make fun of Wanda. She worked her arithmetic problems absent-mindedly. 8 times 8. Let's see, nothing she could do about making fun of Wanda. She wished that she had the nerve to write Peggy a note, because she knew she'd never have the courage to speak right out to Peggy. To say, "Hey Peg, let's stop asking Wanda how many dresses she has." When she finished her arithmetic, she did start a note to Peggy. Suddenly she paused and shuddered. She figured herself in the schoolyard, a new target for Peggy and the girls. Peggy might ask her where she got the dress she had on, and Maddie would have to say that it was one of Peggy's old ones that Maddie's mother had tried to disguise with new trimmings so that no one in room 13 would recognize it. If only Peggy would decide of her own accord to stop having fun with Wanda. Oh well, Maddie ran her hand through her short blonde hair as though to push the uncomfortable thoughts away. What difference did it make? Slowly, Maddie tore the note she had started into bits. She was Peggy's best friend, and Peggy was the best liked girl in the whole room. Peggy could not possibly do anything that was really wrong, she thought. As for Wanda, she was just some girl who lived up on Boggin's Heights and stood alone in the schoolyard. Nobody in the room thought about Wanda at all, except when it was her turn to stand up for oral reading. Then they all hoped she would hurry up and finish and sit down, because it took her forever to read a paragraph. Sometimes she stood up and just looked at her book and couldn't, or wouldn't, read at all. The teacher tried to help her, but she'd just stand there until the teacher told her to sit down. Was she dumb or what? Maybe she was just timid. The only time she talked was in the schoolyard about her 100 dresses. Maddie remembered her telling about one of her dresses, a pale blue one with cerise-colored trimmings, and she remembered another that was brilliant jungle green with a red sash. "You'd look like a Christmas tree in that," the girls had said in pretended admiration. Thinking about Wanda and her 100 dresses all lined up in the closet, Maddie began to wonder who was going to win the drawing and color contest. For girls, this contest consisted of designing dresses, and for boys, of designing motorboats. Probably Peggy would win the girls' medal. Peggy drew better than anyone else in the room. At least that's what everybody thought. You should see the way she could copy a picture in a magazine or some film star's head. You could almost tell who it was. Oh, Maddie did hope Peggy would win. Hope so? She was sure Peggy would win. Well, tomorrow the teacher was going to announce the winners. Then they'd know. Thoughts of Wanda sank further and further from Maddie's mind. And by the time the story lesson began, she had forgotten all about her. The 100 dresses. The next day it was drizzling. Maddie and Peggy hurried to school under Peggy's umbrella. Naturally, on a day like this, they didn't wait for Wanda Petronsky on the corner of Oliver Street, the street that far, far away, under the railroad tracks and up the hill led to Boggins Heights. Anyway, they weren't taking chances on being late today, because today was important. Do you think Miss Mason will surely announce the winners today? Asked Peggy. Oh, I hope so, the minute we get in, said Maddie, and added, Of course you will win, Peg. Hope so, said Peggy eagerly. The minute they entered the classroom, they stopped short and gasped. There were drawings all over the room, on every ledge and windowsill, tacked to the tops of the blackboards, spread over the bird charts, dazzling colors and brilliant lavish designs, all drawn on great sheets of wrapping paper. There must have been 100 of them all lined up. These must be the drawings for the contest. They were. Everybody stopped and whistled or murmured admiringly. As soon as the class had assembled, Miss Mason announced the winners. Jack Bagels had won for the boys, she said, and his design of an outboard motorboat was on exhibition in room 12, along with the sketches by all the other boys. As for the girls, she said, although just one or two sketches were submitted by most, one girl in room 13 should be very proud of her. This one girl actually drew 100 designs, all different and all beautiful. In the opinion of the judges, any one of her drawings is worthy of winning the prize. I'm happy to say that Wanda Petronsky is the winner of the girls' medal. Unfortunately, Wanda has been absent from school for some days and is not here to receive the applause that is due her. Let us hope she'll be back tomorrow. Now, class, you may file around the room quietly and look at her exquisite drawings. The children burst into applause, and even the boys were glad to have a chance to stamp on the floor, put their fingers in their mouth and whistle, though they were not interested in dresses. Maddie and Peggy were among the first to reach the blackboard to look at the drawings. Look, Peg, whispered Maddie. There's that blue one she told us about. Isn't it beautiful? Yeah, said Peggy. And here's that green one. Boy, I thought I could draw. While the class was circling the room, the monitor from the principal's office brought Miss Mason a note. Miss Mason read it several times and studied it thoughtfully for a while. Then she clapped her hands and said, Attention, class, everyone back to his seat. When the shuffling of feet had stopped and the room was still and quiet, Miss Mason said, I have a letter from Wanda's father that I want to read to you. Miss Mason stood there a moment, and the silence in the room grew tense and expectant. The teacher adjusted her glasses slowly and deliberately. Her manner indicated that what was coming. This letter from Wanda's father was a matter of great importance. Everybody listened closely as Miss Mason read the brief note. Dear teacher, my Wanda will not come to your school anymore. Jake also. Now we move away to big city. No more holler Pollock. No more ask why funny name. Plenty of funny names in the big city. Yours truly, Jan Petronsky. A deep silence met the reading of this letter. Miss Mason took her glasses off, blew on them, and wiped them on her soft white handkerchief. Then she put them on again and looked at the class. When she spoke, her voice was very low. I'm sure none of my boys and girls in room 13 would purposely and deliberately hurt anyone's feelings because his name happened to be a long, unfamiliar one. I prefer to think that what was said in thoughtlessness. I know that all of you feel the way I do, that this is a very unfortunate thing to have happen. Unfortunate and sad both. And I want you all to think about it. The first period was a study period. Maddie tried to prepare her lessons, but she could not put her mind on her work. She had a very sick feeling in the bottom of her stomach. True, she had not enjoyed listening to Peggy ask Wanda how many dresses she had in her closet, but she had said nothing. She had stood by silently, and that was just as bad as what Peggy had done. Worse, she was a coward. At least, Peggy hadn't considered they were being mean, but she, Maddie, had thought they were doing wrong. She had thought, supposing she was the one being made fun of. She could have put herself in Wanda's shoes, but she had done just as much as Peggy to make life miserable for Wanda by simply standing by and saying nothing. She had helped to make someone so unhappy that she had had to move away from town. Goodness. Wasn't there anything she could do? If only she could tell Wanda she hadn't meant to hurt her feelings. She turned around and stole a glance at Peggy. But Peggy did not look up. She seemed to be studying hard. Well, whether Peggy felt badly or not, she, Maddie, had to do something. She had to find Wanda Petronsky. Maybe she had not yet moved away. Maybe Peggy would climb the heights with her and they would tell Wanda she had won the contest and that they thought she was smart and the 100 dresses were beautiful. When school was dismissed in the afternoon, Peggy said with pretended casualness, "Hey, let's go and see if that kid has left town or not." So Peggy had had the same idea as Maddie had had. Maddie glowed. Peggy was really all right, just as she always thought. Peggy was really all right. She was okay. Up on Boggins Heights. The two girls hurried out of the building, up the street toward Boggins Heights, the part of town that was such a forbidding air on this kind of November afternoon, drizzly, damp, and dismal. "Well, at least," said Peggy gruffly, "I never did call her a foreigner or make fun of her name. I never thought she had the sense to know we were making fun of her anyway. I thought she was too dumb. And gee, look how she can draw. And I thought I could draw." Maddie could see nothing. All she hoped was that they would find Wanda, just so she'd be able to tell her they were sorry they had all picked on her, and just to see how wonderful the whole school thought she was. And please do not move away. Please not to move away, and everybody would be nice. She and Peggy would fight anybody who was not nice. Maddie fell to imagining a story in which she and Peggy assailed any bully who might be going to pick on Wanda. "Petronsky, Onsky!" Somebody would yell, and she and Peggy would pounce on the guilty one. For a time, Maddie consoled herself with these thoughts, but they soon vanished, and again she felt unhappy and wished everything could be nice the way it was before any of them had made fun of Wanda.